But our first guest today, we are so excited to have Amy Payne. Amy is the owner of Lasting Order. And we're going to be talking about kind of ways to start decluttering if people are wanting to downsize. I know some of our viewers are kind of like, well, maybe we're going to downsize. Or because we've all had a little bit more time on our hands.
Right.
We have
And
opened
it's January. It's January's a good time to start.
If you put your New Year's resolution as getting yourself organized and decluttering your house, or you've opened that finally opened that closet,
that one closet that you don't look in.
or that one drawer,
Right. Or it won't close.
It won't close now. Absolutely, absolutely. So, Amy, welcome. We're so excited to have you here joining us today.
I'm excited to be here today.
Well, thank you. So people I know, they want to know, okay, where do I start? Because it can be
How do I start?
How do I start?
What's a good first step?
Absolutely, because we know it can be very overwhelming. Regardless of the size of home, if you're in an apartment, wherever it is, it can be very overwhelming just to get started.
Absolutely. Yeah, the first thing people say to us is, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know where to start. So you're in good hands, I guess. That's what they say. So yeah, the first place to start is to understand why you're doing it, right? What is your ultimate goal?
Right.
Why do you want to organize this particular space or this particular project? Why? Because if you don't understand why, a lot of people get partway through, they get frustrated, they get tired, they get distracted, and all of a sudden, forget it, I'll do that later. But if you have a goal, a deadline, maybe it could be something silly, like, oh, someone's gonna drop by.
Right.
So I wanna make sure I have the entryway clean, or by the end of January, I wanna have this guest bedroom clean. Maybe some company is coming. I know we're less likely to have people over right now, but that can be a motivator. Or, hey, I'm gonna change the angle of my computer for my Zoom meetings. So behind me needs to be
It's a
cleaned out,
nightmare.
right?
I want it to be pretty.
Right, whatever it is that's bothering you, whatever area, we actually recommend that people start with that, whatever's bothering you the most. Now, let's say you have an entire lifetime of clutter and a household of clutter, and you're like, truly, I just don't know where to start. Nobody's coming over, I don't need to be on camera, and I'm frustrated with all of it. So what do I do? A lot of times when we take a tour, I say, imagine if a stranger came to your house, for example, a professional organizer, and took a tour of your space, looked in all of your closets and all the rooms, what would you be the most embarrassed by? That would be, because obviously if you're embarrassed, that if it's bringing up that emotion, it bothers you, right?
Right.
So I say that, and then if they're like, all of it still, it's so frustrating, then I suggest starting with the master bedroom, wherever it is that you sleep. Because when you wake up in the morning, if the first thing you see are piles of clutter, you start the day on that negative self-talk, right? We all have that internal dialogue of, why did I let it get this way? How could I live like this? Why can't I get my act together? Those sort of things go through people's heads. And so if you organize that space first, then every day you're waking up to a victory. You're like, yes, I did this. I organized it. Look, I'm maintaining this. This is great. So baby steps, you've got to start with one area first, learn how to organize it, learn how to maintain it, and keep it up. And then once you get that under control, then you add the next area, and you can just take it, bite by bite. How do you eat an elephant, right?
Right.
One bite at a time.
Absolutely.
So you just have to bite off a little bit at a time. And if a whole room is overwhelming, start with one drawer and work your way through the dresser, or start with the horizontal surface and work your way around the room until you've got it cleared off and cleaned off.
Absolutely.
Great suggestion. How did you get involved in organizing? How did you start?
How much time do we have? So, long story short was I learned how to be organized as an adult. I did grow up in an organized household, but I learned for myself good habits and routines, how to maintain the household. My husband and I moved 11 times in the first 12 years we were married.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a lot, and during that time we had 3 babies in 3.5 years.
Oh my goodness.
So we had some chaos. So I learned how to get organized. I searched out on the internet and found how to get organized. And then people started saying, oh, you're organized. And I'm like, can you not say I'm fun? cute. Why do you have to say I'm organized? Like, is that really a compliment? So I finally started to understand that was a positive trait. And then when we lived in Dallas, Texas, I went to the home show there and saw that there were organizers, and I'm like, this is a thing? You can get paid to organize people's houses?
This is for me.
Like, this is amazing. So that's when I realized this is what I really want to do with myself, and it took until we moved to Indiana for me to actually start the business. But we've been in business now 9.5 years. June will be 10 years.
Wow.
So exciting.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
That's
so
great.
we've seen a lot in 10 years.
Wow.
That's for sure.
Right, and Kim will put all of the contact information
Yes.
after the
Okay.
show today in the chat, and then I also have subscribed to Amy's newsletter that you can get. So if you're watching this now, we know you're on the
So
internet.
yes.
Very easy, and we'll put all of that in the chat as well
Yeah.
because it's got some great tips in it. And Amy said she's doing a 3-part series now for Maternity Journal, which I know we can't hardly keep those on the shelf even
Right.
since we're closed. We still can't keep them on the shelf. So
Right.
that is a very wide range of people also connecting to too.
Yes. Yeah, the first article is out this month in January called The Art of Deciding.
Oh.
So if you struggle with how to make that decision about what to keep and what to get rid of, there's some great tips in there for you about how to make those decisions.
Absolutely.
You know, my philosophy,
What's that?
I just told you my philosophy,
Yeah.
6 months.
Yes.
6 months.
Yeah, before the show we talked about that. I'm nicer. I give people a year. If you haven't used it in an entire calendar year, chances are good you're really not going to.
Right.
I mean, if you've made it through every major holiday and all the seasons and you're still haven't worn it, you haven't used it, you're probably not going to.
You don't want me working for you.
Yeah.
Kim will be like, give
Are
her
you
the
perjured
now.
just to get it out? Yeah. I'm that way with my own stuff, but
Right.
the reality is organizing isn't one that fits all.
Right.
It really is
exactly.
customized to each
Right.
person, to each situation. What do you need it for? What are you using it for? I mean,
This
I
is
don't live
sentimental.
in your house, right?
Right.
So I can't necessarily come in and make the decision.
Right.
But one false belief people have is that they have to clean up before we get there, or they have to purge before we get there. And
Oh, that'd be me.
the reality is that's what we do. So we help you make those decisions. We talk you through, why am I keeping it? Or people ask us all the time, like, well, what should I keep?
Right.
And I'm like, well, let's talk through that. Most people keep X, but in your situation, it may be less than that, it may be more than that. And so because we've been in so many homes in the last 10 years, we can give a good idea of what most people do. People just want to know that they're normal. And the reality is clutter is normal, unfortunately. We would like to not have it be normal, but a certain amount of clutter is normal.
Right.
There is clutter that goes beyond a reasonable amount, and those are situations in which we can really make an impact and make a difference. I mean, if you're struggling to sit on your couch, or pay your bills on time, or walk through a room without tripping over stuff,
Right.
please call us, because we don't want anybody to live like that. We want people to be comfortable in their homes, we want people to be able to have friends over when they want to, and
Right.
really not be embarrassed about
Right.
their situation, so.
Absolutely.
But different people's embarrassment levels are different
Right.
places, and that's fine. The level of clutter that's acceptable to one person is different from someone else.
Absolutely.
I tend to go a little minimalist in my own home, but I don't push that on other people either. So.
Absolutely. And I think you're never too old to start, right?
No, never.
People are sometimes, I know
No.
people are like, oh, I'm too old to, you can teach an old dog new tricks.
And really, truly, we work really well with seniors, because a lot of seniors have physical ailments that keep them from being able to climb up in an attic.
Right.
Maybe they've
Oh,
stored stuff in there,
that's
they
very good
can't
point.
get up there and get the stuff out, or lifting or bending, those kinds of issues. And so we really come in handy in those situations, because we can do all the physical part
Right.
and let them make the decisions. We bring stuff, we bring categories to them, and what do you want to keep? What of this do you love? What do you need? Asking all those kinds of questions, and really help do that physical part.
Right.
And then we haul away the donations at the end of the appointment, so they don't have to worry about that. We can arrange for consignment to pick up furniture or shredding. donation, all the different
Wow.
things that you need to do to disperse the stuff that you're
Really
getting
a
rid of.
one-stop shop.
Yes, we don't do it all, but we can help coordinate to get it done for you. So,
Do you have suggestions on where to donate or where to take it to shred or where to consign?
Yes.
Do you have?
we have a few consignment places that are our favorites. I don't wanna name names on a
Right,
public
right,
video because
right.
we're not anti any of them. I mean,
Right.
any place where you're gonna be able to sell your stuff is
Right.
great. We just have a few we tend to go to because they're easy to work with
Right.
for us.
Right.
As far as donations, same thing. There's a lot of good charitable organizations out there that take stuff. We have a donation list in our new client packet that gives suggestions on who takes which type of items. When we have a big declutter and we have a lot of stuff, we tend to drop it at the Goodwill truck or at the Goodwill because they take almost everything. Where a lot of the other ones, you have to be more specific about the
Sure.
quality of what you're taking or the exact items, and we don't want you to get so bogged down in where you're taking it that you don't
Right.
actually take it.
Right.
That
Right.
happens a lot.
Right.
Or I'm gonna have a garage sale,
It adds
and
to
then
the
3 years
overwhelming.
later, the garage is still full of stuff. So
Absolutely.
we would rather it go to a good place than to not go at all.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely, yes, because I think I've been having a garage sale for the last 13 years.
Right.
And
Yes.
have yet to
Right.
do it,
Yes.
and I think we all were like, or I'm gonna try to put it on Facebook Marketplace, I haven't done that either,
Right.
so.
And I try to give my clients deadlines, like, okay, you say you're gonna
See
have
that?
one, so you
Right.
have until this date.
Right.
If you don't have one by then, let's figure out another
Right.
solution.
Absolutely.
Or if you don't get this stuff to the shred place, then let us take it for you. Or if you don't get the donations taken out, then we'll take them
Right.
and get it done for you.
Absolutely, and the
So-
shredding, very important to point out, because a lot of people I noticed in my own, because we had, it's like, we might be partial hoarders, we had tax returns from back in the 90s,
Right.
like
Right.
93, just got shoved into file drawer,
Mhm.
just shoved in there, and a lot of people's, pay stub, a lot of things used to have your social security number
Right.
plastered all over everything, and you wanna
Right.
make sure, so I think shredding is very important. A lot of people think, just throw that away, but check those documents, a lot of them contain very pertinent information.
Yes. There's certain
somebody
things that
could-
should be shredded and certain things that don't need to be. We do run into a lot of people that think every time their name and address is on something, it needs to be shredded, and that's not true.
Right.
Right.
Anybody can Google, anybody can
Right.
find
Right.
your address,
It's in the
the
phone.
property records.
Obviously.
Right,
Yeah.
if you still have a phone book, it's probably in there. But you can find that anywhere, so just
Right.
because it has your name and address doesn't
Right.
mean it needs to be shredded.
Exactly.
And most bills now, they don't put your full account number, they don't put your bank account number, they don't put your social, but they did. If you have really old papers, you need to be extra careful.
Absolutely.
But definitely, we actually use like Piranha Shred, they have a $10 minimum, but you'd be surprised how much they take for
Sure,
$10.
get a really big
A
tub.
really big tub, so
Yeah.
even if you have a shredder at home, it's better to just bag it up and take it to them and
Absolutely.
pay your $10 and be done with it.
Absolutely,
So-
right, absolutely, just to get papers, out of the way, and I think
Right.
that's so important to tell people, to start slowly, because you're right, if you think of all of your, especially if you've been in your home for, like a lot of people have, 60,
Right.
65 years, you've accumulated, if you've had any kids at all, you're gonna have a lot of stuff anyways, and.
If you've lived in the same space over 5 years, you probably have some decluttering to do.
Right.
I mean, that's, the reality is,
Rule of thumb.
I mean, that's how I stayed so organized, was because I moved. Now that I'm living in the same place longer, I have to actually
You're like,
dig
"Oh,
back
yeah."
everything out of the back of the closet.
What about computers?
Yes.
Because
They
you upgrade and
Yes.
those have information on
Oh,
them.
you're talking about old ones?
Old ones,
And yes,
right.
C&I Electronics is great for clearing out the stuff off of it and then recycling old computers.
Great.
That's usually who we recommend for that.
Good.
We love giving resources like that, because again, we don't do all of that stuff,
Right,
but we
absolutely.
definitely have the resources to
Absolutely,
make it
old
happen.
cell phones,
Mhm.
iPods,
Right.
those things.
Mostly
that-
with those, it's just photos or videos. If you have your pets and kids, then you might want to save. We were talking about pets earlier.
Yes.
You might want to save those, and then the rest, there's probably not a lot on there. Maybe on a smartphone, you want to make sure it's disconnected from your service, you know,
Right.
so that it doesn't have your personal information. But, yeah, recycling old electronics is fun, and then organizing digital files. We've been talking mostly about households. I actually organize businesses too, so digital files as well are something, but we don't need to go into that.
But you could always contact Amy
Yes,
and get more
exactly.
information on that, because you're right, a lot of people,
Right.
you know, you're right, probably a lot of people, you know, watching this are more the physical,
Right.
the physical clutter. And also families, this is a great opportunity for families, you
Right.
know, especially, you know, anymore. I know a lot of our seniors, their families live out of town.
Mhm.
You know, maybe it's time for, you know, mom or dad or, you know, somebody in their family to maybe go to, you know, a retirement community or
Right.
assisted living or something like that. But they have a 60-year-old house that
Right.
they've lived in that house for 60 years, and they're like, oh, we don't have time to do it, you know, or we live out of the area, and, you know, or we've gone through what we kind of think, you know, they would like to take with them, you know, and now we're
Right.
left with this house full of
Mhm.
lots of stuff.
Yeah, just in the last 12 months, we joined the National Association of Senior Move Managers, because we've been moving people. And when I say moving people, we do not load the truck and unload the truck, but we help declutter to put the house on the market, or declutter and downsize, and then we pack and we unpack. So we do all of that. We help a lot of people move into retirement living, downsizing into condo, into a villa, into assisted living, help them go through all that stuff and really pare down to what's the most important thing to me, because you can't keep it all when you're downsizing like that.
Absolutely.
And so the Senior Move Management Association has given us a lot of additional training and information to really focus on seniors, because we found that was who we were running into over and over again.
Wow.
Especially when the adult children live out of town. There's
Absolutely.
nobody here
That's a
to
great
spend
service.
all this time with mom and dad helping them pack and helping them go through everything. So we've really found that specialty niche market
It's a
here.
great resource.
So we love seniors. We love helping, like I said, with physical ailment or even things like memory issues. You know, we love to help people accomplish their goals and get to where they need to be so that they can be safe.
Absolutely.
Whether that's still at home or whether that's in retirement or assisted living, we want to make that happen.
Absolutely. And I know families, that is a phenomenal resource, because you're right, a lot of families, you know, most families live out of the area.
They do.
And I think it's not only reassuring and helpful for the family, but also for the person too, you know.
Right. And part of it's the dynamic of the family, of the child is like, Mom, why did you say this?
Right.
Forever, you know, and the mom gets so frustrated and she's like, leave me alone, it's my stuff, right? So it's good.
You're the buffer.
We can come in and be that neutral third party. We're not there to judge.
Absolutely.
We don't care where the clutter came from or why it got that way. We're there to help.
Right.
And they truly get that person who cares for them, but is not judgmental and not making
Absolutely.
comments,
Right.
and really able to help them out. And some adult children, they're working, they're raising kids. They don't have time to deal with
Absolutely.
mom and dad's stuff, but yeah, that needs to happen for their safety.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, and you're right, not just moving, but just their safety and staying in their own
Right.
home too. And that's, you know, of course.
Right, even when a spouse passes away and
Yes.
someone is downsizing into an assisted living, you know, we just went through that on a personal
Mhm.
note with one of my family members,
Absolutely.
and had to downsize, and,
Right.
you know, it was daunting.
And it's less emotional for us because we probably didn't know the person who passed. So we can help be objective about what's actually needed to keep, or for sentimental reasons, what is the best way to remember the person without keeping everything there.
Absolutely.
You know, there's ways you can honor someone's memory and still love them without keeping everything.
Every single thing.
Right.
You're right, you don't have room to take it. And I know people will say, you know, well, I have 4 storage sheds, or, you know, 4.
Give those people my number.
Absolutely.
If they have 4 storage units, call me.
Absolutely. You know, it's like, well, what are you keeping that for?
Right.
You know, and I know,
Right.
you know, I've had family members. My grandmother thought you had to hold on to every single thing ever, and
Right.
you know, it's like she did. She had 3 storage units, and she was in an assisted living facility in Ohio, and it was like, but what are you saving that
Right.
for?
And a
Some
lot
of
of
the
people who
children
grew up in a
might want it.
depression area, or even
Yes.
children
Which
of
she would,
people
yes,
who grew up
right.
in
they hold on to
depression.
everything.
It was that you never know if you're going to be able to acquire this item again, so you have to hold on to everything.
Absolutely.
And that has definitely changed in our society of Amazon delivery the next day, right? So we don't need to have that attitude quite as much anymore, but we can help people navigate those decisions of what's realistic to keep, what's something you can realistically get your hands on quickly for inexpensive again, should you declutter it and need it later.
Right, absolutely.
Because that's everybody's big fear is, what if I need it? Yeah.
I haven't used it in 5 years, but I might need
Yes.
it one day.
Or they want to find the perfect place to donate. I don't want to just give it away. I want to make sure someone will love it as much as I have.
Right.
You know, so we talk through a lot of those mindsets and decisions.
Absolutely.
Or my grandchild might want this.
Yeah.
They don't.
Exactly.
I'll tell you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
If it's furniture, it's
Yes,
they don't.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
My 12 place set.
he's preserved
Yes.
their wedding dresses, and
Yes.
my daughter's never gonna wear my
And
wedding
I mean,
dress. What am I thinking?
I'm a professional organizer. I have my wedding dress in my closet. I'm not gonna lie. I have sentimental bones in my body. I actually have, I think, 16 place settings of china. Half of it's from my mom, half from my husband's grandmother. But we use it
Right.
because I'm like, if I'm gonna store it, we're gonna use
We're
it.
gonna use it.
So every Thanksgiving, we pull it out and occasionally in between. And to me, it's worth the storage space because it is sentimental to me. So again, those are the decisions for you. You may go, oh, China, why would anybody want that?
Right.
Well, then you need to purge yours.
Right.
And leave me alone and I'll keep mine.
Absolutely. I know it. So I think great suggestion. You know, people starting in their master bedroom. I think that's great because I think you do, and I think we all know when we've cleaned stuff out, even here at SWIRCA, when we've cleaned stuff out, we have felt really good about ourselves, and then it kind of empowers you to keep it clean.
Yes.
And then you kind of are like, when people, and your family kind of just lay stuff down, pick that up.
And that's one thing I do want people to understand is like, we're trained in this. This isn't just a fun hobby or something that we do. Like, we don't just put stuff in pretty boxes and make it look good for Pinterest and Instagram. It's really a lot more psychology involved, a lot more emotion involved, processes, setting up a good system of what do you do with the paper when it comes into your home so that you don't have piles of paper 30 years from now that you need to go through.
Right.
So there's a lot more to it than
Absolutely.
just the beauty or just the clean surfaces.
Right.
And that's where we have education and training to really help people get through those issues.
And especially, you said with the senior movers too,
Right.
And a lot of it for safety,
Right.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
we think of, some folks when, going down to their basement or, things like that, it's really dangerous.
Yeah, where to store things too. Yeah, so that it's
Absolutely.
easy to access, so you don't have to get down on your knees. I mean, I'm not a senior yet, but it's hard to get on my knees sometimes. So I feel that, and climbing up, we don't want people climbing up on ladders to get to things that are stored up high. So we're really evaluating the person and how they live and how they function of where things should be stored, so that you can get to things quickly and easily, and you know where they are. So it makes sense to you. It's not so it makes sense to us.
Right. Absolutely. And I think just being a third party, no attachments to the items, just really will help people, especially when they've had items for a long time. It's hard to.
Emotional attachment.
Absolutely. Amy, well, thank you so much for joining us today. We are very
wonderful information.
I know. Kim and I are both like,
I could probably talk for 2 hours about each thing we talked about, but I won't.
Well, we appreciate it. And again, Amy is writing a 3-part series in Maternity Journal, so then that'll be January.
Well, I'm
February,
not
March.
sure.
Okay,
Exactly.
which
what it will
date?
be.
But the first installment
one
is this
out.
month.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So.
Right now, no promises on the other two. That's not up to me.
Absolutely. But it will be. So look, I know a lot of people there's a very wide circulation for Maternity Journal, so be watching for that as well, and great great information. And also, if people want to sign up for Amy's newsletter, we know you're on already on the internet,
Right.
so Kim will put that in the chat, and
Yes.
all of Amy's contact information too. So, and if you see the little purple VW bug around,
Yes.
lasting order.
Yes, it's purple and
I
white.
love it. I love
VW
it.
bug, it's kind of obvious. So if you
But
see it,
that's-
honk a wave. and-
Absolutely.
Yeah, send us a
Absolutely.
message and say, we saw you, we saw
That's
you.
awesome.
Absolutely. Well, Amy, thank you so much. It was so wonderful to meet you, and
Yes,
thank
you
you
too.
very, very much. And we'll
Thank you.
have all that information in the chat where you can get a hold of Amy, or family members can get a
Right,
hold
yes.
of Amy.
Or you can get a hold of Amy for family members.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Amy. It's so nice to meet you, and we see you sometime